Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing Garden. And I am a philosopher, sociologist, psychologist of 30 years. These are my healing journals, my laboratory, and my research. It is a reminder to myself that these are for me, so I can go back and track my healing, so I can go back and track my psych work, so I can document it, reflect. And in that moment, she realized that where she finally was and where she was going, hate, anger, pain, and fear, these were tools she no longer required to stay safe. And just like that, she put them down and let them go. And it is a relief, a relief. I have been quiet all day today. I had a meeting this morning at 9 a.m. and then I just I felt my whole body just shutting down. My brain's been mush all day. And I know what this is. This is a feeling of plateau. It's when you reach a safe space and you can finally relax enough to let go. It is a stage of healing that I have felt many times before because it's a level where you fight, and then you get to a safe place. And this is where the cubby would be, where you're like in a fox hole or a shelter. And then you can relax because you're safe. And then you fight. And then you plateau again and you take a break and you rest. And then you fight. I've been doing that my whole life. And I started to notice that it's very much a pattern in the healing journey where you don't heal and then just shrug off all the burden that has been weighing you down. You heal a little bit and a little bit of that burden chips away. And the problem is many of us are born in such horrifically traumatic environments that we never have a healthy point of reference to normalize. So we normal and healthy are as foreign to us. It's foreign to us. So we never know what it is we're trying to achieve. It's this great, we just have no idea what it is we're trying to get to because it's so far off. And there is this moment when you're healing, and you do this at every plateau level where you get closer and closer to your endpoint and you go, oh my God, so this is what everyone else experiences, but it's really not. And then it normalizes, and then you get to another place and you go, oh, so this is what everyone experiences, and it's not. And then you get a little bit better. And that's the progression. It is the progression. Where is my notebook? Oh, it's all over there. It is the progression of the healing. And the progression of healing is something that's never talked about. It's an unknown. It's one of those things where the therapists don't know about it. And the people who are doing the healing don't know about it because they've never mapped it. They can't map it. They haven't done the journey yet. And that's psychologists rarely are as traumatized as I was. And people who are traumatized as I was are rarely psychologists. Healing is a thing that they have to do to function, but that's not what they do. But for me, it's both. So I had a really rare opportunity and perspective of my love for education with my passion for research and psychology, with my severe need to heal and trauma and undo the trauma. So I have a very rare cocktail of gifts that allowed me to document this journey. And my cocktail of gifts are so rare and unusual that it puts me at an advantage. I wouldn't say that when anything I've had is an advantage, but it allowed me an insight that just doesn't exist anywhere else. And it's a realization that because of my cocktail of gifts, it's allowed me the ability to document this progression of healing. And the progression of healing is these points, these checkpoints of normalcy. And you don't know what your destination is. You really don't know what the end point is. And that end point is when you realize that anger and pain and hate and fear are just tools. Just tools. And that if they are inside of you and you're trying to build something beautiful, you're not going to be able to build something beautiful. And suddenly there's this moment where you have to choose between the love for what you are building and the value of that beauty of what you are building. And suddenly you realize that you cannot make it as beautiful and as perfect as you want to make it, so long as anger, pain, hate, and fear are inside of you. And suddenly, this is the best part, that is the most beautiful reason to let those things go. And just like that, they're gone. When I look at the 12 perspectives, I see 12 variations of each language. So that there's 12 styles of French and 12 styles of American English and 12 styles of the King's English. And there are 12 styles of Russian and 12 styles of Arabian and 12 styles of Hebrew, Japanese, Chinese. It's beautiful. But there are 12 styles or variations of each language inside of our language. And we don't know that they're there. And we think we're speaking plain French, English language, whatever you want to plug in there. And we're not, because we're unaware of these 12 unique variations of each language. And I was talking to a beautiful soul today, and she speaks in a much different language than I do. And I had to stop her several times today and ask, what does that mean? I was without prejudice. I was in very much a student. Educate me. Teach me your language. And she defined the words. And that's when I noticed something. The words she defined were the same words I was using for physics. Only she was speaking a different language to me about her spirituality and religion. I don't know if it's a religion for her. It's definitely a spirituality for her. But that's not the point. The point is, when I had her define the words, I was hearing physics definitions spoken by somebody who had not mastered physics, but she had the concepts down. And I was listening to her definitions and I went, this whole time, she literally described physics to me accurately. It was beautiful. But I speak physics. So I speak physics at the 12th perspective, in English, to be precise. And that's my language. That is my exact language. I speak the language of physics at the 12th perspective in English. Now, you might speak the language of Christianity at the second perspective in French. And suddenly there's your language. And you also might speak the language of Orthodox in the sixth perspective in Russian. And that's your language. And when you translate your Orthodox sixth perspective Russian into my physics 12th perspective English, suddenly I went, we're saying the exact same thing. Your words are just different than mine. And suddenly I look at the world and I'm going, are we really just fighting over a bunch of word usage? No, there's a little bit more than that, but that is a lot of it. Those are the fights that we have between our partners. It's this allowance, flexibility, curiosity. My partner and I have 3 rules. Rules, ethical boundaries. My partner and I have 3 rules that we follow. The first one is always forgive. That rule allows us both to make mistakes. It allows us both our humanity. The second rule is be flexible. That rule allows us both to change and to be different. And the third rule is allow and prioritize growth. And I will tell you what these 3 beautiful laws of ours has allowed us to do. Because of these 3 rules that we have, no matter how the relationship changes, no matter what labels or names we have to put on it, the feelings pretty much stay the same. And it is an open, flexible, beautiful thing that is so moldable around he and I that we can literally become whatever we have to become on our own pace at our own time, making whatever mistakes we have to make along the way to get there. And we still love each other. We have been through a lot together. And at the end of all days, here we are, no matter how bad things have gotten. And he still says to me, everything's going to be okay. We'll get through it. So the end point of your healing journey is this. You are looking for your clan. You are looking for your coven or a family. And you are looking for the ones that are so solid with you that they will become your gatekeepers. So you don't have to ever think about boundaries, because the people closest to you will shield you effortlessly, and they will also never violate you. That is family. And you will feel so safe that you finally can put everything down and you can sleep so deeply, because you know you have 9, 12, 15 really strong, powerful people around you, making sure that no one bad, toxic, evil can even get access to you, because they have to get through the network of your network of your network to even get to you. And that is a very beautiful thing. That is a very beautiful thing. And that allows you the rebuilding and the dreaming and the freedom of the self. That is when you can completely rebuild and restore who you are into your full, gorgeous, beautiful self, and build whatever world and whatever anything you need. And these people who have surrounded you will elevate you and carry you, and that will nourish you so you can in turn nourish them. So it's this beautiful, symbiotic, healthy relationship of gratitude and taking turns raising each other up. And it's this beautiful balance. And it's that moment that I realize this is the way it should always be. And I tell every one of my girls, make sure, or men, make sure you also have your own coven. Because remember, I'm just one of yours. Make sure you also have your own, because you also need that center protection, that massive boundary around you. So suddenly I'm looking back at my circle of trust, and I've got me and my genie bottle and my bubble wrap boundaries around it. And I don't know when it happened. It was somewhere in the last 48 hours that I suddenly realized I had a coven and a clan of just strong, powerful women standing around me in this great fortress, in addition to my boundaries. And I suddenly felt so safe. And I went, oh, this is what we should be born into. Well, you can really see what's wrong with the world when you suddenly realize that that is what we all should have been born into, and many of us are not. And the world is different when you have that kind of clan around you. You have to literally rebuild it, put it back together. But you don't know what you're building because you've never seen it. But you're feeling something and you're guessing, and it's a whole lot of you trusting the universe, because the universe literally pulls you right back to that center point. And that's really it. And we spend all this time where we trust people. We give them too much of ourselves because we overtrust and we want to believe in people. We see the good in everybody. We see too much good in everybody. And we overtrust, and then we get hurt because we didn't use any of the boundaries and we didn't filter anybody. We just gave a lot more of ourselves before testing to see if somebody was worth it. And then we lash out and we say things like, oh, I can't trust anybody, or you can't trust everybody. And suddenly you start to really gain perspective. And when you gain that perspective where you're finally understanding your metric is off and your calibration's been off, and you finally find your point zero, your center grounding point, you realize that you are a grounding rod, and that what you're really doing is stabilizing yourself at your center so that you can attract the right people, your clan to you, and then you can rest. But you have all of this other conditioning inside of you that's pulling you in all of these different directions. And understanding the end point, understanding where it is you're going with your healing, is your heading. And if you don't know what your heading is, you're guessing, you're trusting the universe, you're hoping, you're holding your breath, you're feeling it. And there's a lot of moments along the way where you pause, you put yourself down in the mud, and you just go, I quit. I can't go any further. Why am I doing this? This is why you're doing it. This is why, right here. It's because it is possible. There is an endpoint, and that endpoint is when you restore the clan that you should have had and didn't from day one. Because there's many parts to this, and those parts are yourself and your community, but also your ability to connect with that community. And these are things we are not taught how to do. So there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of guessing in the dark. And this is the horrible thing, is the reason why we weren't taught these things is because our parents didn't even know that they existed. It's not their fault. Maybe it is no one's fault anymore. Maybe it really is no one's fault. Maybe the people whose fault this was died a very, very long time ago. And we're just now fighting amongst ourselves instead of problem solving. And I think that's what I want my new message to be, is there's distractions in the world, and there's red herrings, and there's symptoms, and there's blaming. And all of those are distractions. Orange marmalade in the middle of this gorgeous vegetable sandwich. And instead of focusing on what was done to us and arguing over all the details and the semantics, we're focusing on the wrong part of the problem. We're focused on the conclusions or the consequences. We're focused on the symptoms. And we really need to put our attention to problem solving. Because when you start focusing on problem solving, that's when you start building connection and network. And that's when you start restoring the self. And it is the self, the community, and the connection that leads to family, that leads to clan. And suddenly, you don't need anger, pain, hate, and fear anymore. And it took me a very long time to get here. Anger is definitely part of the path. You have to go through anger to get to this point. And you have to max out your anger so much that you finally say, you know what? I don't want to be angry anymore. But you don't get to that point until you totally saturate yourself in the anger. It's like a child who says, I want to eat a bunch of candy. And if you tell them no, they're going to fight for that control over the candy. But if you allow them all the candy they could eat, they'll gorge themselves until they finally go, all right, I'm sick of candy and I'm ready to go have some health food. It's the same thing. And suddenly this understanding of it's a balance. Anger, pain, hate, fear. And you finally just take on so much of those four things that you just go, I value peace now. I value peace. And that's it. You suddenly swing back the other way and you value peace. But it's an understanding that don't go the extreme opposite. By this point, we've learned that there's this beautiful in-between balance of anger and peace where it just sits right in that middle. And suddenly it's an appreciation of knowing exactly where it is you belong and choosing not to carry around the anger, the pain, the hate, and the fear any longer because you got sick of it. And the problem is there's a massive amount of people in our society saying, oh, you shouldn't have, you need to not do, you need to let go. I need to sit in my anger, hate, pain, and fear for as long as I need to. And I did that. But I'm at a point where if I want to create this beautiful thing that I'm building, it can't go where I need to go because then I can't create it as beautifully as I want to. So it's this sudden feeling of just releasing it, like it's putting it down and just, I don't need these anymore. It's the same feeling I got when I was integrated from my multiple personality disorders, where there was this day and I went, I don't need my alters anymore to stay safe. I can do it on my own. And anger, pain, hate, and fear are the same way. There's that moment where you just realize, I don't need these anymore. I can stay safe without those things. And I'll tell you, that's self-confidence. And that is trust in your community. And that is trust in yourself. Knowing that everybody in your life, everyone who has full access to you, everyone who has even partial access to you, they can't hurt you. I'm heading to California. I'm supposed to be heading to California in a couple days for some conferences. And I'm going, well, I don't have my plane tickets yet. The person who said he would be buying my plane tickets hasn't bought the plane tickets. I don't know what's going on with that. Money is supposed to come through. That hasn't come through yet. So I don't know if I'll have the money to buy the plane tickets. And I just had this moment where I went, if I'm meant to go, the universe will work it out for me. And if I'm not meant to go, well, there you go. Que sera, I wasn't meant to go. There will definitely be other opportunities. And I just had this moment of, yeah, the universe has got this. Yeah, the universe has got it. So when I'm not, instead of, this is it right here, is instead of asking the question, how am I going to go? I'm instead asking the question, am I supposed to go? I would love to go, but is that what I'm supposed to do? Because if I was meant to go, then the person who says, I'll buy these plane tickets for you, would have bought them. And or the money that should have come to me 7 days ago would have been here. And I'm going, interesting. So instead of going, oh my God, how am I going to get there? It's a question of, should I even be going? Well, that's not for me to decide. It's for the universe to figure that out. So suddenly I'm trusting her and I'm going, yeah, I'm safe. I'm chill. And if I don't make these 2 events, not a big deal because there will definitely be other events. So yeah, I feel pretty good. So, it's a completely different way of living. And it is my dream to teach this lifestyle and this mindset to other people. But there is only one way through it. And that is, you got to get really through the anger. But you need to get through the anger at your own pace. You can't rush it. And you certainly can't allow other people to rush it. Tell people, fuck off. I have to be angry right now. And my physics, third law of Newton, for every reaction, there is an opposite and equal reaction. I got 40 years of abuse and hate and rape behind me. That's equivalent to 40 years of hate and fear and rage. Now, I'm not going to sit on that for 40 years, but I'm going to feel really angry for at least a year, maybe 6 months. And then I can let it go. So don't ever let anyone tell you that you need to get over anger or you need to forgive or the universe says you feel those emotions, you need to feel those emotions because those emotions are for a purpose. They are really for something. Those emotions are there for a reason. And if you don't know what the reason is, that's okay. You don't have to know. If you want to know what the reason is, it's because they are emotional consequences to the logic that happened to you and in your brain, and that's okay. But it's an emotional pathway to a destination that everyone has to walk in a precise order because that's the way the brain works, and that's okay. But don't let anyone rush your journey. Don't ever do it. Don't let them do that. If those are people rushing you through your journey, use a boundary, and that's a good sign from the universe that they need to exit your life, either temporarily or permanently. Yeah. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.